Hello, everybody. Right, bit of a change of scene today. Right, what we got? What we got to report about this week? Few things. Firstly, thanks very much for all your wonderful responses to that video I did with Ben. He is the nicest guy, and he's one of them kind of things where people have levelled it at me before, and they've gone, "Why are you trying to help people when you're basically shooting yourself in the foot?" And I kind of went, oh, well, I do believe in the karma thing. Ben is like that with me. Ben is much bigger than me. He's a super duper hero. He's sort of like professional. He's got the big place. And he will turn around and he will give me genuine advice to help me. And I kind of think that's the way it works. But, you take it which way you come. There's been a lot of wonderful comments about it to the stage that what I'm going to do is, because Sunday Q&A has a tendency to overrun anyway, I'm going to take all them comments. I'm probably going to bang it out Monday or something like that. But I think it was good for you guys to see, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I've always said this, but I mean, he's been in the game. Admittedly, he's only been doing the Courier Exchange thing for a few years now, but he's been UPS. He's a man who's been in all his life, obviously made a success of it. And it's kind of good for me because I say things like, you should quote this much a mile. This is the situation with handball. This is the situation with waiting time. To actually have someone who runs a company and also that can show you the other side of things and say, this is how much we pay. This is why we need the PODs, because of our customers. It's nice to see the other side of the velvet curtain. I'm just a little guy driving a van. I'm getting slightly bigger, but I'm nothing like these guys. So thanks very much for all the responses. Other things, pardon me, I've learned how to print the comments out. Oh, excuse me. It's, can't believe I did it earlier. It's basically just sort of cut and paste. But you're going to have to bear with me because I'm now, rather than writing that, what I normally do is I write the comments down on my break. So as a truck driver, you have to have like a 15-minute break, a 35-minute, a 31-minute break, a 16-minute break, that kind of thing. I write them down, takes my breaks away. And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if there was a way around it? So I've learned the way around it, but I'm having to do it on the printer thing, so bear with me with that. And also, I'm not sure how good these things are. They weren't at Christmas. They're not quite so bright anymore. I mean, how quickly does this thing degenerate? Am I now a +2 when I was a +1? So bear with me. So what we're going to do today for Sunday Q&A, I did one, can you make money? Oh, and by the way, we're in different surroundings today because it's just time. I spent the entire morning again doing the lorries. And we got a mechanic who's going to do the lorries, but he couldn't do them this morning. So by the time you've done like the oil and the antifreeze and the screen wash and the cards and the taco download and the PODs, your days just disappear. But I'm sure you guys are very much aware of that. So, and there are worse things to be done. I'm just grateful to be working. So anyway, coming to it. Right, we did a video, can you make money? Can you make money on the Courier Exchange? And I base this on the fact that there's too many imponderables. And I said, look, it's all well and good for me to say I've done it, but I started 3 years ago. The game has changed in 3 years, and it's easy for me because I live in a good area. It's different if you live, you might live in Manchester, you might live in Norfolk, you might live in Plockton. Can you make money? So I stuck my phone number out there, and I said, anyone who wants to give me a bell can, and a few of you have. And I have given you my honest opinion of whether I think it's any good or not. One guy rang me, and he's a cab driver. I don't know if you're watching, my friend. And he's 2 years into his knowledge. And he said, I'd like to, I think he said it was a ferrier, but he's thinking of turning it in. And he'd like running the van. And I said, don't do it. I said, because I had mates of mine that were cab drivers that then, as soon as you take your eye off the ball when you're doing the knowledge, it goes sideways. Also, you've got to bear in mind that a few people are ringing up. And it comes down, I think, very importantly to what do you want out of it? Because I have said back in the day, and in fairness, let's stay in fairness, let's take the first one. Longfinger says, he said, it's about time you told people it depends where you live. He said, those older videos telling people you can earn £400 a day just don't work for most of us. I've been in North London from Brum 8 days in a row and not got a single backload. Now, it's very tough out there at the moment, guys. This particularly, January is always a bad time of year anyway, but January plus lockdown is like double January. The amount of times that I've only got one job a day, and in fairness, I'm surviving at the moment, but the way I'm surviving is I'm lucky stroke, you judge. I've got Teddy, thank you very much, Teddy, who's looking after me, but I'm getting a job that goes out of Slough I mean, you pick it up at 3:15 in the morning. You're done by 6. So I've got my first job of the day done by 6. That gives me the entire day to get my second job, so I can get 2 jobs. Admittedly, I'm out of bed at 2:00 in the morning. Twice this week, 3 times last week I was out of bed at 2:00 in the morning. Twice I wasn't. Once I had to get out of bed at 1:30 because I'd booked a job. And then the early morning job came in and I had to get up extra early to get it done to get to my next job. But I don't mind, kind of, it's an easy job. It's curtain side, forked on, forked off. I know exactly where I'm going. I know the guys I'm picking up from, where I'm going to, and money's money. And when times are hard, if I have to get out of bed when everybody else is going to bed, so be it. I don't mind. But yes, no, it is tough at the moment. It's double tough. But as I've also said to a few people that phone me, yes, it is double tough at the moment. But if you can make it pay now, I believe it can't get much harder, surely. The sun will come out, places will open. Hopefully, with this the vaccine thing, things will ease. But ultimately, it's just my opinion. And business is a risk. If you decide to jump into it, you jump into it. And it worked for me, and it's working for me. Will it work for you? I don't know. If it was nailed on, it wouldn't be a business. It would just be a job, So, having said that, Donny Dalton, he says joining the CX at the moment is suicidal. It's like lambs to a slaughter. The good days have gone. And he has a point. It's nowhere near as... I think it's much harder right now than it was. And it is a risk. If you take it on board, you hope it's going to get better. But I don't know it's going to get better. I'd go down the bookies and bet on it. But you don't, do you? You don't know. I think what you've got to take into account is the situation you're in and how much you want out of it. And you've got to think long and hard of it. I had another guy ring me up. He said, what do you think about leasing a van? It's going to cost this much, it's going to cost this much. I had to say to him, I said, mate, you're going to basically end up making all the money you make this week, or you take this week, you're going to be handing over to the insurance company, to the lease company. Look long and hard at it. If you've got to take a risk, drill it down, minimise the risk you possibly can. But then I said, what are you doing at the moment? He said, nothing. So I'm sitting at home. So it's like... It's hard. It's easy enough for me to say it's really hard on the CX at the moment, which it is. But if you've got no other option, but you do you. All I will do is I will pass on the comments and give you my opinion. That's what it is. Sebastian Ahmed says he's working with the CX almost a month and a half. He said, I've done almost 20 jobs, but there's not much money, very low offers. He said, I've spent around 8K, get himself up and started. He said, I'm feeling like I'm working for the CX. He said that he did also go and say the CX never told me you cannot co-load. When I did the exam, which you have to do, the exam, where the answers are actually written by the side, the two things that they do kind of drill into you is no co-loading and don't hand your cards out. That's the two things that I got from that exam were no poaching, no co-loading. So if you miss that bit, unless they've changed the exam, I don't know about that. But yeah, like I say, mate, it's tough at the moment. Melvin Nicholson says he said he's interested to read the comments from Longfinger and Sebastian. Sebastian's the guy we just mentioned. He said after almost 2 years of doing it, it's suddenly become a real race to the bottom. I mean, it's been criticised for being a race to the bottom for a long time, He said, I've never failed to get a return load from the southeast of England, except for this month. You'd expect it in Scotland, the northeast or southwest, but not down here. In my opinion, it's a perfect storm of economic slowdown, meeting lots of fresh faces with redundancy payments, jumping in vans, hoping to run for very little. I mean, you guys are all going to have to take it your own way. And all I'll do is I'll pass on the comments. But it's suffice to say, it's tough at the moment. But there's a reason why it's tough at the moment. It's January and we're in lockdown. Everywhere is tough at the moment. What you do is what you do. Danny Richardson, he said, have you seen your profits go up since driving a bigger truck? Yes. Yes, I have. The money I'm charging in a 7.5 ton is double the money I was charging in a Luton. In a Luton, I could squeeze in 3 jobs a day. Now I'm doing 2 jobs a day. It's still more money. I would recommend that everybody gets into trucks, but it is involved. It's not so straightforward as just buying a van. I've got my licence, I buy a van. There's operators, there's parking, there's hours. It's involved. I would recommend everyone gets into lorries. But I've done plenty of videos on it. Just know what you're doing before you go into it. That's the size of things, really. Donna, sorry about that. I can't get a second name. Sorry. I'm going to blame the glasses. He says, I am not driving empty. I am trumping Monday to Friday. Thanks to you, Pete. I don't think he meant trumping. Donny don't want to put little thing. He said, lay off the beans. Yeah. Everyone does it their way. Some people only want a little bit of money out of it. Some people want all the money, but they're happy to leave their house on Monday, come home on Friday afternoon. Everyone does it their way. Like I say, Ken, Market Trader Ken, again, is now running with us at the moment, only temporarily. And I've said to him, if you want it, you go out on your own. But he's getting the hang of it. It's a little role, you know. First he was only getting one job, then two, then Friday he got three. He doesn't need a lot of dough. His wife gets paid well. He's looked after himself. He made money back in the day. He's learning the whole thing. It all depends on what you want out of it. But he said, what choice have I got? He said, I either basically sit at home in the bedroom because she's working from home, watching repeats of Netflix, or get out of the van. He said, if I can get myself pocket money, it depends what you want out of it. You've got to do you at the end of the day. Carbon Tuber said, thanks for the call. Delicate down in Dorset. Yeah, I gave him a ring. I say a few people rang me during the week. And the number's out there. If you watch the video, can you make money 6? My number's on there. If you want to call me, call me. And I will give you my honest opinion. But you've got to bear in mind, it is just my opinion. That's all it is. And I don't know what I'm talking about. Ben does. You know, he's been in it forever. We've done a video about him. He's got something going on called Smart. I had no idea about Smart. But he says, you've got to get into this Smart. This is the way forward. So I am. I'm going to try and learn it. Worst case scenario, I'm going to give up a bit of my time. He's offered me it for free at the moment. Not forever. We'll see about that. But if it works, as always, I'll pass it on. That's all I do. Right, so that was it on that one. So we're going to come on to the miscellaneous now. Paul Wilkins says, I stay at Premier Inns in the winter. I did one about this. I've done it already, ready to launch. The best van to tramp in. And an argument can be made that tramping's great. Maybe in the winter, you might want to get yourself a room. Maybe in the summer, it's not so bad to keep in the back of the van, you know, kind of thing. So he said, I stay at Premier Inns in the winter and the van in the summer. He says, I've got a business account with them, £35 a night. If I tramped more, I would be more clued up on where you can park, where you go, and how much it costs. I don't. If I ever get into it, as always, I'm quite happy to pass it on. Magsy says, my question to you is, do you have a website? Which website would you use? Should there be anything special regarding packages? Sorry for the caps. I only likes watching me and Big Beardy. Big Beardy's out there as well. I think he offers. I don't tend to watch that many other channels because I'm kind of busy, but I believe he offers very good advice. So there's me. There's Big Beardy Driver. I think he's the other guy who does different videos to me. Check him out. You know, power to the people, guys. You know. To answer your question, we have a website. It doesn't get a lot of. Doesn't really generate any end user customers, doesn't generate a lot of work. It's one of those things that you kind of, I presume it's like a water level, it all slowly comes up. You just do everything, scattergun, do your Facebook, talk to your mates, do your online marketplace, do your website, do as much as you possibly can. Sooner or later, hopefully something will stick. But we have a website, does it get a lot of use? Not really. Gary Cumberland said, brilliant vids, only found yesterday. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Shapeshifter. Do another one like this. I did one on Cockney, like how to count money in Cockney. I've done a couple. I'm not really a Cockney. There's only so much you can say about money. If anything comes up, I'll do it for you, my friend. No problem. Skirting the edge. As we did thing about how much weight you can carry and all that kind of stuff. He says, I used to do rubbish removal. And I was routinely around 5 tons in a 3.5 ton tipper. You can guarantee everyone's going to overload you. I was never stopped, thank God. I didn't realise the penalties were so dear. The first time you get done, you'll get a slap on the wrist. The problem is, then you've got to change your whole business model. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. The best thing is not to go over it anyway. Like I say, Ken the market trader, because he's been paranoid. He's super duper down the line. He said, I was amazed when I actually took all the gear and the bars and the sheets and the clips and all that stuff we need for markets out of my van, took it down to a weighbridge, how little it can actually carry. It's kind of scary. You know, it says 3.5 ton van. You don't realise that van can weigh 2.2, 2.5, 2.7. It's crazy. But, you know, best way to do it, empty your van, fill it full of tank of petrol, put the sack barrier on, put the straps on, drive it down a weighbridge. Then you know. And then everything else after that is up to you, my friend. It's a Booby Boy 191. He says, I'm an engineer interested in going on the CX. Well, you know. There's plenty to think about there, isn't there, really? And this is why I love this channel. He said, I would avoid going for LPG as it reduces the life of the components. Now, this was always my fear, that, you know, you can fit your van with like that LPG gas, which means you get a lot more miles out of it. But does it have a penalty somewhere else? And as an engineer, he's kind of saying, well, yeah, you save on the fuel, but at the same time, your clutch will go quicker, your gearbox will go quicker, your engine will go quicker. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. I'm just going to stick to what I know. Friends, sooner or later, they'll be electric and then they'll be flying and then I'll be dead, so it won't matter anymore. Right, P. Freddie Fletcher. He says, great video. Did you ever consider tramping around Europe? Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll do the grand tour, I don't know. At the moment, now I'm into trucks, I'm on standard national, so I can't actually leave the country. And with everything that's going on with Brexit, I had that conversation with Ben on the video I'll put out in a couple of days' time. And because we used to do the flower job, where we'd turn up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sort all the flowers out and go and deliver them. He said, that's stopped now, because of the Brexit and the paperwork, and I don't know what's going on with the Brexit and the paperwork, and there's enough for me to worry about without thinking about that. But at the moment, I'm just kind of, I mean, I've contemplated going to the Isle of Wight. There's a job on there at the moment going to ride. I've thought about it a few times. I'm not quite sure how to cost it. So maybe one day, I don't know. But at the moment, I'm kind of happy doing what I'm doing. And he said, with that in mind, old ZLY 6230 says, have you ever heard about Timicom? It's very popular in Europe for shippers. I know nothing about Timicom. If anybody out there knows something about Timicom, please leave it in the comments. And as always, I will happily pass it on to you. All I ever do is the CX. Like I say, we did that returnloads.net. Didn't work out. There's other websites out there you can get involved in shipping and stuff like that. I've always found the CX to be the best way forward. That's why we use it. If anything else, like I say, if anything else comes up and it's drawn to my attention, I will happily pass it on to you guys. Domain name guy. Oh yeah, right. This is again. I'm trying to like get yourself out to as many things as possible. He said there are plenty of jobs for man and van on a job website. He says a job website Indeed. I guess it's Indeed. Is that kind of like a personnel thing, isn't it? Really. He said type Indeed into Google, and when on the site, just type in driver and area. And most driving jobs have their own van, etc. So that presumably go on Indeed. Just trying to draw between the lines there. And then when it says, well, you know, like job description, driver and van, he said there's jobs on there. Very nice of you to share that with us, mate. Thank you very much. I'm sure we all appreciate it. So, Mark Brocklehurst, he says, I'm looking at starting in the transport business. Again, have you done any EU deliveries and what tips do you have? I've noticed a few pickups on CX with drop-offs in Germany and wonder if they're worth a hassle. In my experience, Mark, and I've said this before, the jobs that are going that crazy distance don't go for the money you expect them to. Because, you know, it's going like 200, 300 miles. And you think, well, in a Luton van, I can quote that 300 quid. And it sells for like 150. And you go, how does that make sense? But what happens is there's somebody who who comes over to England and works in England and then has to go home and he goes, Christ, let's go past my door. Or, you know, I'm passing that on the way home. I'll do that just for my diesel money. Having said that, now everything has changed. We're going to move with the times and people are going to inform me. Like I say, Ben, when I had that meeting, he said, like, you know, it's all changed. But we'll see. Watch this space for loads of misinformation and generally wrong opinions. Lee Allen says, because we did one about like the HQVs and stuff like that on the 18.5, the 7.5 tonners. He says, because I like my 7.5 tonner, Alice, she's lovely. I've driven a Mitsubishi Fuzu Kenta. He said they were awful. He said they're a glorified van like an Iveco Daily 180. Yeah, I think that would frustrate me. It's the worst of both worlds, isn't it? You've got the aggravation of driving the truck with the taco and the rest and all that, and at the same time you feel like you're driving a van. At least with my lorry, when I have to stop for 15 minutes, I can put the seat back, put the night heater on. I've got plenty of space, things to be getting on with. John the Van Mayers says, oh, he's another guy, and a lot of people have recommended this. Dell Mate. He says it eliminates that problem of Google Maps when you're driving down the dual carriageway and it says you've arrived at your destination and you're on a dual carriageway. I think Dell Mate is supposed to be very good. You put the address in and it fires up addresses all around you, and lots of people swear by it. But like I said with the circuit, and I do recommend that circuit thing. I do think it's very, very good. But I'm not Mr. Multi-Drop. I tend to be 2 jobs a day, and if I'm lucky, pick up, drop off. Pick up, drop off, go home. I'm not one of these running around the streets. I have done it. I've done it with the Argos. I've done it with the Parcel Force. I find it aggravating. It's not for me if I can avoid it. But if you are that guy, apparently Dell Mate is a good thing to have. Xavier Singh says, he said, I started working for you and I mentioned your name on the CX Exchange. I hope they gave you a good deal, my friend. I say they don't really talk to me. I think the last time I talked to them was over a year ago now. But I know they talked to Ben. That guy I did the interview with, he's kind of partnership with them. I just hope they get the best deal you can. There you go. That's all I really want for you. Domain name guy says, because I did that thing about, as a general rule of thumb, short wheelbase 1 pallet, medium wheelbase 2, long wheelbase 3, extra long wheelbase 4. He said there's an exception. He said if you're transporting things like flour, sand or paper, you want the short wheelbase because it can carry more weight. And I think you're right. Although I'm not so sure if the laden weight on a short wheelbase or a medium wheelbase is sometimes 2.5 ton. So again, that's where the long wheelbase could score. Me and Ben talked about this in the interview. Why long wheelbases sometimes can score, but to me the long wheelbase is kind of the wild card of vans. It's always a bit like the worst of both worlds. Maybe it's the best of both worlds, and maybe I just don't understand it. I'm sure you'll inform me. Van on the Run says, oh yeah, because we did do the thing on what you see vans on TV. And he said, the one that drives me mad is the overtop engine noise sound effects, like the Renault Clio that sounds like it's got a V8 underneath the bonnet. They did do a thing once on Mission Impossible, or one of them. It's like 39 mistakes, and one of them said he was riding the bike down the road, and then he went on the beach, and he suddenly had beach tyres on the bike. My God, you've got to be paying an awful lot of attention to work out the tread on tyres. It's a bit like, it is a film. Suspension of belief sometimes, but sometimes you go, oh no, that's just being, no, absolutely not. So, right, and we got Ian McBride. He says, the trouble I have as a driver in London is the postcode takes me to the front door of the building of the business, whereas the loading ray is around the back. A different postcode to the company would be handy. You're right, although I've got to say that when you've been on the job a little while, you kind of clock that one. You're driving down the road, you see the front, you see all the cars parked out the front, and you think, there's going to be a shout or a bell around the back. I've done it before on Victoria Street, and I'm thinking, right, this guy's got to take deliveries. There's no way I can stop down here. There's got to be a way around the back. And sure enough, there was. You go around a little road round the back and you go, oh, thank God for that. Because once you're around the little road round the back, they kind of expect you to be stopping. Try and stop on Victoria Street, you'll probably have armed policemen on you. Going, what are you doing here? Right, conclusion. Yes, sorry, Nick. My mate Nick, he's got his own channel. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but when you're starting, it would be really handy. He used to be Harper Valentine. He's called London Creative. He does some stuff with paints. He does some stuff with climbing, all that kind of stuff. If you could click on London Creative, even maybe if it's not your cup of tea, subscribers are nice. We all like subscribers. Just let us know that what we're doing is kind of worth something, but I'll leave that one to you guys. Rave Master says, lovely chap, could listen to him all day. Thank you very much, Rave. There you go, sir. Stephen, I did one about the sofa. The sofa went in the end, in fairness. It went on local eBay. Again, I think what probably happened was two foreign nationals come to pick it up, and I think the lady who bought the sofa probably went on like eBay Marketplace and said, I need someone to pick up a sofa and bring it round to me, and they made an offer. If you're out there, don't always just rely on the exchange. Facebook Marketplace, friends, family, Gumtree, anything you can do, particularly in these tough times, to bring some money in. You know, don't all put your eggs in one basket. There's nothing stopping you going left, right, and centre, all that kind of thing. Like, you know, he said you should have signed it. I didn't want to bring the value down anymore. It was already free. I don't want to pay him to take it away. And he also said, I love this. He says, as I said about the pizza place in Middlesbrough, because my mate Giles commented, he said, is that Gigi's on Linthorpe Road? A little down the road from the town centre. Because he's down there at the moment. Yes. It was on a direct line, because I used to work in the student. I used to go to Teesside Polytechnic, and I used to work in the student union behind the bar, and I used to live in Arthur Street. You passed the pizza place on the way home. I mean, it would be rude not to. And they made the best pizza. I'm pleased to know it's still there, like, you know. So, and finally, this week goes to Lee Allen. I hope you're all right out there, mate. He says, Deep Impact were the ones where the astronauts were taught to mine, as opposed to the one with Bruce Willis in where they taught a load of miners how to be astronauts. And he said, and the bear in BJ McKay was also a chimp. And finally he says, because you know I did the one with the on the sofa, which has like the t-shirt with Kobayashi porcelain. It's that last exit to Nowhere Mob. I love them. He says, I love the usual reference, the usual suspects reference on your t-shirt, Pete. I have to say, my employer, what accent is that? I have to say, my employer, Mr. Sauce, will be very pleased to hear that. I don't know what accent that is. I'm not Pete Postlethwaite. I could never say that name. My wife would have said, why can't you say Postlethwaite? It's a struggle for me. And if you haven't seen The Usual Suspects, what a great film. It's a struggle for me, this one, a little bit, because it's got Kevin Spacey in. And I'm not allowed to like Kevin Spacey in it anymore. Because he was a bit nefarious with young fellas. But the problem is, I still think it's a great film. I've got exactly the same problem with Can You Feel It by the Jacksons, which is, I believe the guy did was inexcusable, but I also know he had a terribly troubled childhood. And at the end of the day, I still really like the song. Where does it stand with art that if the person that did it was like inexcusable, but it's brilliant? A little bit of a philosophical question for you there. Something I'm thinking of making a regular feature of the show. Ask Pete. No, but in all seriousness, the sun's coming out. Hope we're all well. Take care. Take money.